All right, so we are here today. I'm super excited. Me and Rita have been wanting to connect for a long time. This is someone who has sparked a lot of connection in me. We're connected. And I really honor and respect her wisdom, her path. I'll just start out with an introduction. So today we have Rita Carnevale. She's the owner of her sacred space, which I cannot wait to check out. My personal experience with her has been through sacred dance, medicine wheel, which we're going to get into. But she's been a holistic health practitioner since 1980. So massage, reflexology, throw some out there. I mean, your training.
Colon therapy.
That's a good one. I love that. I've done that.
Yeah, Jaguar trance dance, massage therapy. I do the cranial work, work with, but I've come into my own more with teachings from the ancient Laika people from Peru that have been passed down through the four winds.
Yes, and that teacher is Alberto. Is that his
Alverto Villoldo?
Yeah, I recently took a free course of his that he had, and it was wonderful. I learned so much, and I thought about you. I was like, oh my gosh, she's got the full trainings here. How epic.
I highly recommend him. I mean, this medicine wheel teachings have served me well for my own life, my own journey, as well as what I've seen for others. So it's very functional. It's very practical. And that's what I was looking for back in the when I was about 50 or whatever that was, 10, 12 years, 15 years ago. Whenever that was, I decided I got to have some real tools here, and I'm going to work with whoever I can find to get them.
Well, when the student is ready, the teacher is, right? Yeah. I mean, I've had so many wonderful teachers and I didn't seek them out. They're just like, hello, Dawn, you being one of them, I don't even know how we met, but I do know that it's nice to have people to look up to, on this journey. We're not meant to do it alone. We're meant to do it together. And, so you started in 1980 and you were doing your massage therapy and the colon and the reflexology. And then you hit a dark night of the soul around 1989. So I know in a previous podcast, me and Dr. J talked about shamanic death and rebirth, and that most medicine people, if not all, we have to have that death rebirth, right? To activate our power and to let our ego slide away. And it's not always a fun, it's probably never a fun experience. What was that like for you? How did that come?
Not fun either. Yeah, and it does so often happen that way, which, all due respect to what everybody's going through right now with COVID, in all sorts of ways that I won't get into right now, we do have an opportunity that goes along with that. And so many times when we're struck with, a trauma or disaster, it really makes you go deep and really takes you to your knees. Well, for me, it was like a big shock. I was in massage school at the time and I was raising 2 children on my own with no family. And I got a shock. And what happened was I just felt like the life force was going out of me. That was the best way I could describe it. It actually literally felt like I was a bag of sand that somebody had just poked the holes in, and everything was going out and I had no control over it. I couldn't feel like I could ask for help. The only thing I could do, I could get my kids to school and get them back home every day and feed them. But all I did in the meantime was cry. And after a couple of days of that, where I wasn't going to school, a friend of mine from school called me and said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a mess." She goes, "I'm coming over." So he came over to my house, opened up a blanket on the floor with me and said, "We're going to pray." And he turned out to be an authentic Lakota pipe carrier, or which they call the chanupa. And he had deserved this title, and that's why he had the pipe. And he sat down and he prayed with me with the strength of a brave. And it was for me. When they pray with the chanupa, it's not for themselves. And by the time that ceremony was over, the life force started coming back to me. And now I had a new trajectory and a new frame of reference for what God was. And that was really what I can look at now and say, oh, God was so important to me. God is important to us. It's like the spirit running through you, and it was gone. And of course it wasn't actually gone. It just felt like it was gone. So I thought I was going to die. I really did. And then after the ceremony, it started to becoming Great Spirit. And I started seeing a new way to move that, to move my, into a new trajectory of my journey. And that's when I started, and here I was in Santa Fe of all places. There were people there doing ceremony, and there were elders doing sweat lodge, and everything started. That's when my real indigenous training started. I started meeting teachers from all different kinds of walks of life of indigenous medicine, like Hawaiians and Mayans and other Lakota. And I even spent time in Puerto Rico and got to work with a Taino medicine woman there. But the four winds is what I actually ended up, I felt like I needed more. I wanted tools. Mm-hmm. And that's where I ended up to find what I call the quintessential healing modality that I have been able to put the rest of it together and make it my own. Meanwhile, keeping the archetypes and the traditions of this medicine wheel training. Beautiful. So that's how it all started for me. And I also started doing the medicine cards at that time too. So that's when card readings started happening with the Native American medicine cards.
Native American medicine, beautiful. Yeah. So we were talking about previously, and we just wanted to mention, there's an old era and there's a new era of being a medicine person. And I hear, like, I'm on a shamanic group with thousands of people on Facebook, and I often hear, we shouldn't get paid. We have, the cultural appropriation, like we need to only be practicing what is in our lineage. And you and I were talking about, I've found that, I believe you said we're all one, that there's a call that was kind of set for the old era, right? In the new era, it feels aligned that if the teachings, these teachers just showed up for you, this was meant to be. So how would you explain that? Like, so many people are resisting, I get so much like, you can't be a shamanic practitioner, being a white woman. And I'm like, I didn't choose this. And B, it's not that fun. To be honest, how many dark night of the souls is Great Spirit going to give me? I'm like, this is like,
when Spirit calls you, it may be 20 degrees outside and you have to do a ceremony out there. But I do think that I want to say, I really respectfully honor the medicine people before me. It's not, to me, this is not about trying to make their sacred work, very marketable and make me a lot of money. It's never made me a lot of money, by the way. I'm not that kind of person, but more importantly, I think that if it was like that, like you say, the old way where the shaman would do this and they wouldn't get paid, well, guess what else was going on for the shaman? We don't just take that out of a context and say, well, what's wrong with you? No, the shaman had its job. Everybody had their job, and they had community, and they had a sense of belonging to each other. They had ceremony, they had dance. Everybody had their own jobs. And I would be very honored to be in that kind of a community. In fact, that's what I'm kind of in search of at this time. I think that, so it's like, if the shaman, if you do some work and I don't even call myself a shaman either. I do shamanic work. I consider there's a difference there, just because, I don't know. I think there's a difference.
Can you tell us the difference between being a shaman and then doing shamanic work?
Yeah, I feel there is a difference.
Choice, and what are the two differences?
There is a choice, and I think that being a shaman has a lot of like it's one of those buzzwords of the new healing modality these days. For me, it's just for me personally, it's not the most comfortable way to call me. I feel that I'm a facilitator. I'm a shamanic facilitator. I do it through dance. I do it through healing work. I do it through ceremony, through cards. I'm a facilitator. That's the more spiritual facilitator. But I have so much training in shamanic work that I bring that in as well, because I want people to know who I am. It's just not that I'm this. I'm a lot of things, and I'm nothing really. So doing this work as a shamanic facilitator, like I say, I'm honored. I think it's all an individual choice, how you want to call yourself. Do you want to charge money? Some people say, well, you're not charging money for the spiritual stuff. You're just charging money for the teaching and the rental. Well, whatever you want to say, it's not, I think that it's all an individual choice. And if people want to call themselves shamans, that's their choice. This is just my choice. But I do it with a lot of honor and respect, and I walk softly, and I'm always learning. And every client that comes to me, I'm learning too. I'm always feeling the connection of where that applies to me, because this is an ongoing situation we're in. It's not like you get to the goal and then everything's cool and you're done. No, I mean, we're always having to letting go. We're always having to letting go and building it up again. So I don't know, does that answer your
question? That's a beautiful representation. I mean, what I say is, I go by priestess or spiritual teacher or spiritual counselor, and shamanic, I mean, again, I didn't choose that, but Dr. J just kind of came in and she was like, you have some of the strongest gifts of anyone I've seen in 35 years. Can I help you so that you don't destroy yourself in the spirit realm? No, she didn't say destroy yourself, but she's definitely
Dr. J is Dr.
Susan Josephine. Yeah.
Yes, okay.
That's what my students have named her, as Dr. J. When they do the trans.
Wonderful woman.
So cute. She loves it.
Wonderful.
But yeah, in order to, divination, I mean, because shamanic is one tool, which is that's one tool. And then the divination is a bit separate, I feel like, right?
I think it's all connected. It's spirit. Here's my new motto: ask spirit to clear it.
I love.
Here's like these little rhymes come to me every now and then. So, it's a spirit. It's like letting go and saying, let's just let spirit take over here. What wants to happen? Is it a card? Is it, a ceremony? Is it an illumination? Should we go on a shamanic journey together? Is it a soul retrieval? However it wants to show up. And people don't even have to do that kind of training to be a shaman kind of person. If you ask me, I mean, we all kind of have this, I think shaman has, the definition has to do with going into another reality, and to bring it into this reality for health and healing and for information. Sometimes you go take a journey because you need to learn, where you might find something you're looking for. So I think getting back to the question about the shaman and, is it okay to get paid for it? Just to realize that, this is my work, this is what I do for a living. And I have to pay my bills too, and my rent. And so this is a way to do that, where in the old way, they would have those things being taken.
That would be set up because we no longer live in community. I mean, I'm extremely isolated. There's not a community or a tribe that's bringing me chickens for advice when I do divination or herbs, or they didn't give you a hut. I mean, I've had so many visions of when the healer in the village is born, right? What do? Well, they go live with the other elder healers, and they learn, and they're fed and they're cared for. It's an intentional community. And it sounds like we're both looking for some semblance of that intentional community. It's the medicine person, for me, feels very isolated. And I know that all the medicine people, like I'm teaching a training right now, they're all craving each other. They're feeling so isolated.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm seeing that too. definitely.
Yeah.
We're all, so the community is opening up a little bit, a little by little. The edges are going, oh, and people are all having these kind of moments where they really want kindred souls, and they're getting in touch with what that means for them. What is it that, who am I, and what do I want and what do I not want? And this is the way I am offering it for others to facilitate that for them through the medicine wheel.
Well, let's talk about the medicine wheel.
Yeah.
That was like really alive and present for you lately. I mean, I know you do so much, the Jaguar dance, which I've gotten to do, and but the medicine wheel seems like it's a core foundation, something important to
core. Well, if you would like, we could create a medicine wheel. We could call in the directions right now, which creates sacred space.
Yeah, let's
right
do
now, and that way I will explain a little bit as I go around. The medicine wheel is set up as a template. It's even like a compass that shows you where you are and how you can take that and move forward. And in the work I do, we go through this circus, like a circle that takes you all the way through and then out into spirit.
Love it.
So we start in the Laika people of ancient Peru before the Incas. This is what has been passed down. There's a lineage to this, and I really trust in this lineage because I've seen that it works. So we're going to start with the south, if you will, which for me is behind me. So thank you, south. The south is represented by the serpent. The serpent is Kundalini. The serpent is very close to the earth and moves. And when the serpent loses its skin, it does it all at once. It doesn't drag off this little piece and this little piece and this. When it's time to transform into the new, it does it all at once. So that's our teacher, and to say we could do that as well. So when we look at the south, I say, just wiggle it, shake it, and just like whatever it is. And what I call it is, I am that I am, and I'm not what I'm not. So we're going to wiggle all that out and say, thank you, serpent, aho, to the south. Then we go to the west, which is the jaguar. The mother, sister jaguar, she's fierce, and she's the top of the food chain. She's coming in and saying, this is who I am. And even if I don't know who I am, I'm still fierce and I'm doing it anyway. And we look at the black jaguar, where is it? I have it here. The black jaguar. So it's saying the dark. This is the dark and the mystery, which we are learning about. We don't know everything. We think we want to know everything. So we want to bless the mystery and say everything from the south that we have just loosened up and asked what we don't need to let go of, we bring it to the west and we bury it into that, our mythic gardens, if you will, and becomes compost. So what we do not need anymore, we honor it and we allow it to make something good out of it. So something can transform out of it. So our wounds actually become our treasures.
I love that.
And that's what's happening in the West. And it's trusting because you don't see it. You don't know it yet, but you're just trusting that it's gonna be okay. So I am that I am, even if I don't know who I am. Like Alverto says, you look in the mirror in the morning and you say, I'm gonna brush your teeth, even though I don't know who you are. Or I don't know who you are, but I'm gonna brush your teeth anyway. So we're gonna allow that in this space over here. Oh, the north is hummingbird. And hummingbird also represents the lineage of this tradition, our ancestors, teachers and guides, and the sweet spot. This is the place where we're like, this is where we want to be more. This is our place of living. I mean, the South and the West, they have their place as well, but we don't need them to overcrowd the picture here. So when we go to the North, we see the hummingbird and it's saying, what do you love to do? What brings you joy? You know, what kind of gifts can you share? What beauty? So this is the place that I call, I am a dancer, because that's who I am. So that's where the I am comes in here. And it is the meditation that comes with knowing as well. I think it's just this it's like the cherry on top, you know, it's the sweetness that we bring into our life. Remember the sweetness at the end of the day. Remember to keep that in its proper perspective. So this medicine wheel is getting us there. Then we get to the east. So thank you, hummingbird. And then we go to the east. The east is eagle and condor. Thank you. Eagle and condor in the east. This is the place of spirit. This is the place of the inner South American condor, which is more about the inner work, the meditation work, and then the outer eagle feather, which is more about the outer. This is more about, okay, now I'm going to take it out. I've got the idea, now we're going to manifest it. So it's all that black and white, and it's also the east, which is the place where the sun rises and the moon rises. So it's our new day and our new night. And so as we come around the circle, that's our aha moment. That's where we go. There isn't a lot of things to say. It just, I am that I am right here. And then of course we have to honor Mother Earth, which is the Quechua term with the Laika people is Pachamama. Pachamama, we honor her because she's the one we're on. We know what would we do without her? She's here every day for us. And she's taking this and she's transforming for us. And she likes that because it's making us better people to walk on her. And that we can also be messengers for others. All the others, the winged, the furred, the finned, the two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, the many-leggeds, the stone, the plant. We are all related. We don't have power over. So we thank all of them. Thank you, Mother Earth. And then Father Sky, and all the lights that come down from the sky, all the names for God. You know, there's so many names, but it's that spirit that comes down and reminds us, yeah, we are all connected. We are all in one web, and what happens with one affects the whole. It affects us too. It affects us very fast. So we want to be mindful of what we do and what we say. So then we just thank it all, and I thank you, Goddess Dawn, for allowing that to happen. Thank you. So now we have sacred space. And that's the safe place in which to work. Mm-hmm. That's why we create it, because you can have a safe space, but now we have even more of a bubble, and it makes people feel a lot more comfortable about sharing and allowing them to go to another deeper level out of the mind, out of the mental, emotional place, so that they can make the changes.
Yeah, I love that. And so when creating sacred space, I mean, what the felt sense I get, and I've gotten to do the medicine wheel with you a few times. Each time is so wonderful. It's like honoring all of life. I mean, literally all of it, that, you know, the people that came before us, the great mystery, the earth, the star people, the sky. I mean, it's bringing in, it feels like it's bringing in allies. So once people have the medicine, can anyone create a medicine wheel at any time?
Sure. Oh, yes, absolutely.
When would you want to do? I mean, you said times where you want to do alchemy work, but when do you use it, or when could we use the medicine?
Well, for one thing, you can open it up in your house and just leave it open so that these energies are there helping to protect you. The other thing that we do is right after we open up the directions, what we just did, then we open up our own Rita Carnevale, which is our own energy field.
Is that, I think
so you open up your arms up here and do a peacock around you. These two forms are help you to create that sacred space, to get more focused on your intent, to be protected, if you will. And especially if you're going out and being around people, you can do it for yourself. You can, it's like a sort of a protective, I'd like to use a different word. I just feel like it's more expanding of who you are and bringing good qualities into your life, because we're always attracting too. So we're vibrating in it. And so it changes your vibration.
That's what I heard. raised it. I mean, I feel like
Yeah, raises it.
raised after that. So you can do it for your house, you can do it for yourself, you can do it for if you're gonna do ceremonial work, or yeah, that's amazing. Very good.
Yeah. So this is the particular medicine wheel that I really relate to. I've studied many different ones, you know, and I've made it my own. So, you know, you can look into different traditional ones. You can try this one. There's, you know, a sheet through the four winds where they've got it all written down if you want to use theirs and then expand on that. When you go into the woods, that will also fluff your energy field up. When you go out in nature, when you're somewhere in nature where there isn't people around, you're connecting on that vibration as well, and it expands. Everybody's doing what they came here to do, and it's sort of like osmosisly comes to you, and you get inspiration. So much happens. So that's a big part of my work too, especially from the last year of COVID. I've spent a lot of time in the woods, and I've realized that that's, you know, that's a good place to do work, ceremony too. So it's been a very inspirational year in many ways. So
yeah, I contacted the spirit around, because there's a spirit to everything, right? And there's definitely a spirit that goes along with COVID, and he looks a lot like a bat, and he is all about death and rebirth, and we're doing that. We are in a cultural, not only a personal level, but I can definitely see where the whole world is it's affected the whole world, the bat medicine. And I'm curious, that kind of takes me into the curiosity about the cards. You've got your cards, you've got the animal cards. And so do you remember what the bat is in your animal totem card?
Death and rebirth, just like you said.
That's what I was.
An ending to something. Now we also want to remember that doesn't necessarily mean physical dying, right? That's the West position. That's the Jaguar. That's the ending. That's taking that what we don't know any longer need and letting it go. It doesn't have to be about physical death. It's about metaphorical death, you know.
That's right. Like making a change. 1989.
Yes, 1989 and 2020. I mean, this year we've had to do things differently. We've had to grieve a time that we will no longer see, you know. There's been some death other than physical death this year. Yeah. So it's how isn't it like everything? It's how we deal with it, you know. How are we going to deal with it? Are we going to let it take us over? Are we going to become very dependent? Are we going to be victims? So it's our choice, you know, and we need each other. We need each other to help each other out through this, because just like me, I need other people too. I can't do all this by myself. What would have happened to me in 1989 had my friend Paul not showed up? I really think I would have died. And it wasn't like a physical death. But I think my body would have still died. That's what it felt like anyway. I don't know what would have happened. So all thanks to you, Paul, wherever you are.
Yeah. Yes.
Would you like us to pick a Vagabond Dancer card?
Yeah, absolutely. So these are your cards. You created them, and they're not available yet. I have the same thing. I have a little tiny deck, but they're not available for purchase, but people can still get readings with you. It's part of your medicine, and we're going to get one now. We're going to get one today.
So I like to ask a specific question. Would you like to ask a question or suggest one, or we can just pick one for the moment, the rest of the time we're here together, or whatever wants to happen?
Sure. So I heard you about maybe a general reading or a specific. I mean, I think that because we've come along the topic of the medicine path, which is that maybe asking what's next. So 2020 took us into death and rebirth as we.
Great question. Love that. Okay, so what's next with this year and beyond? How do we take it and go to the next place? Yeah. How do we take what we've been through and go to the next? What's the next step? Okay, so here it is. What I've got is tap dance. All my cards are a dance. And it's not necessarily a dance like tap or samba. Sometimes I make up a different kind of a dance that you never heard of, but it's all about, it's all about, these cards are all about moving. They're all about, don't stay stuck in the same place. We're all moving on a journey, even if we're not dancers, right? So tap dance is saying, tap around the situation. Don't go directly into it and try to solve the problem. Maybe the problem is a little bit, we don't know what the answer is. So we're going to tap around it. We're going to see that it's there, but we're not going to quite address it. And that has to do with sometimes diversion, or something that's like, yeah, I know you're there, but we're going to do this. I see you there. So if that makes sense for you.
I mean, that resonates on a collective level. It really isn't a time where we have the solution. I mean, the problems that are coming up that have been there, like I described 2020 as a festering wound, right? But it was bandaged up with a pretty little iPhone and things to distract people, Netflix, right? It had a bandage, and then the bandage was pulled off by the bat totem, by the bat medicine. And the problem really, it doesn't have a solution. So it sounds like, to me, what I heard you say was, we're still getting to know how all the problems connect, like us being independent, becoming more interdependent, realizing that how interdependent we are with people and with spirit, but also that, we both spoke to how we're craving, we kind of know what we're moving to, but it's not there yet. The tools aren't there yet. So it does feel like tapping around and just witnessing, like, excavating information, witnessing it, but there really doesn't seem like there's action or, there's always the action. My big thing right now is like, everyone who's pointing a finger needs to just kind of like take it in and check in with yourself.
Wow.
We're not going to be able to fix
the
world just yet until people look at here, right?
And that's a beautiful thing. We have more time. We don't always know the answers. We can't always go direct. Everybody wants to have an answer. It's like, well, it's got to do this. Don't do that. It's about this. No, it's not about that. So tapping around it gives it a little space. And maybe this card could also be another thing I like to say is put some air in it. Like, for instance, I know you're aware of the sweat lodge. You know how the sweat lodge, before you put the blankets on it, it's got all the willow frame. All those it's like a little lodge, a cute little house, but there's a lot of holes in it, right? The air is coming through. And so that's what I kind of seeing with the tap dance too, just give it a little breathing room, let's just kind of move around it. It's not in a box. This is not the time to figure it out. So we have more time for that. That's great. So let's, like you say, let's do the inner work that we can do. And that can be a lot of fun, especially when you do it in nature. It's fun. Playing in the woods or playing at the beach or wherever you happen to be, going on a trail, seeing what the little signs, the birds that fly by, the deer that want to come by and squawk at you like they did to me one day when somebody yelled at me one morning, and then I yelled back, and then I went in the woods and the deer were squawking at me. And they were like, "What are you doing?" I was crying, and they were like, "You can't come in here like this." And then as I was leaving, I tripped over a branch, which I never do. And then as I was going through the school that's right behind, in front of the woods, I got in trouble from the principal for walking through the school. It was like, oh my gosh, that's what a vibration can do. So I was off on my vibration, and it was just showing up and showing up and showing up. So that's what this is about. It's all about Aini, that reciprocity. The Aini is a Quechua word that the Laika would use because we want to have a good relationship. We want to have a good relationship with ourselves to begin with and outside of ourselves. And how does that even apply to the COVID? One of the things that came to me in the woods is you can just sit there and be with that. We've seen that picture so many times of that COVID. And all you have to do is sit with it, and it starts to dissipate the energy. So I'm learning a lot about healing work. I'm learning a lot about, instead of having to send it or radiating or just being the vibration of. So the idea is we don't have to fight it. We don't have to be the enemy of this thing. They don't have to be the bad guys, and we're going to say about this.
Yes.
So that it all comes back to friendly relationships with ourselves, what's outside of ourselves, and to Mother Earth.
Yeah.
So that's, that's another part of, one of the things that I've come up with in the last year or so is how to recreate our own creation story. And we do that through vision work, through dance, through music, because we've had creation stories that maybe are collectively, consciously and unconsciously working with us that do have us doing things disrespectfully to each other in the earth. So that's one of the things I do, and can help other people, facilitate for other people as well.
Recreation stories?
Yeah, light your garden, light my garden. Yeah. So I did one in my special little woods. I had my good friends make the music for it. I danced it, I edited it, I filmed it, I did the costumes, and it's very unprofessional, but it is on my website, and it's on a YouTube video called Light My Garden with my name. And it's just a way of saying, when you do something with the movement, you get it a little deeper. You get it in your body memory. So it's not just in here. It's not even just in here, but we're moving it now. So your body's getting it. And so that's what I did with it. Other people can do other things, like use their other arts, painting it or singing it or whatever. But we started with a shamanic journey that gave the whole vision of what that is. What is my creation story? And I saw it, and then I danced it.
Oh.
So there's another way. That was my answer when I said, what can I do for the earth? And that happened right before COVID is when I called and got that answer. So that's out there. And it's not meant to be some kind of, special performance. It's more of a presentation to show you that you can do it too.
Yeah. Some people are having like I tried to do a vision board, and I think I'm more like you. I'm more of a dancer. I'm just like, I know what I want, but very specifically, I know what I want in my future, what I envision for myself, which is really just returning to some more indigenous style ways of respect. But to dance it, oh my gosh, I can't wait to check out that YouTube video. Tell us what you have. Tell us your website, and also what you have coming up, where if people feel called to you, they can work with you.
Great. Thank you so much. So my website is hersacredspace.com. On the event page, you'll see the Light Your Garden video. On the first page, I have some interviews. What I'm doing is weaving ancient ways into a modern day functionality through the medicine wheel template. We do a whole transformational journey package of 3, where you can come in and get some body work and also work with the directions. The second time you come in and get an illumination, where we sit down and we talk about what is it that's going on and what is it that you're not happy with. We find out where that started, put it in a nutshell, and then we look through scan the chakra system and find out where that's lodged in. They put a lot of information in it, blow it into a stone, put the stone on the chakra, and it clears, and we clear that. It's amazing what happens with the body once you just give it space. It's like a little child. We both have children, we know, and if a little child, how a little child can be mommy, mommy, when they're little, and you're on the phone or you're doing something over here and they're like, mommy, and you go, later, I'll take care of it later, go away, and then later really never comes.
And they start screaming.
Yeah, they start screaming, and then who knows what happens. It's like, we also have a little child in us. So when we were little children, maybe there were things that we took in a way that wasn't we didn't get the best answer. So we learned, what we do as children is we learn how life is. Oh, that's the way it is. You don't get that answered, or you don't get that need met. Okay, that's what it is. I'll just go do this. I'll just go hang out in my room and cry, or I'll just go hide in the basement.
Right. We develop those survival mechanisms to deal with whatever,
Yes,
and then it creates a pattern for the rest of our lives. I mean, for me, it truly
absolutely.
is like isolation, and isolation, the coping mechanism was disassociation in order to, so like I'm very familiar, and that pattern comes up again and again, and we all have one, right? Because no one had a perfect childhood, probably. Maybe.
Nobody, because it isn't even that the fact that you had a lot of trauma or not, it's the way you took it in. And little children are super sensitive.
Yeah.
And so even I had a friend who, his whole wound, and I think that there's a major wound also that we come in with. His whole wound was that his mother had a baby within a year after him.
Mm-hmm.
His mother didn't do anything wrong,
Right.
but it lessened the time that he had. And so he felt left out, and it directly related to his mother. So that in his life, he had a pattern of being with women who would leave him, so he would feel left.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we come in this world with kind of a major wound. I don't think it's our parents or anybody who started it. I think we already had it. And we chose on some, again, bring the mystery in, because I kind of can explain how this happens. You know how the universe works. You go like, how did the universe know? I was thinking about you, and you call. So now what happens is, here's your mother, here's your father, here's your school, here's this. And they all work together to heighten up this wound that we as an eternal soul have been born into. And that's what it's about. We want to get this wound so strong that you're going to have to do something about it, which is kind of what we started this whole conversation with, is when the trauma happens, that, we end up having to go, finally we get to a point where it's just not working for us anymore. Right. And so that's when people will go to energy workers. Often they're not getting their answers from traditional medicine. So that's what the illumination will help them do. And then we replace the energy, and we also reset the fight or flight, because once you have this thing going on, you're broadcasting it, you're alerting it, and relationships come in that seem to want to bring this up even more. So it's an alert system. It's a fight or flight. It's a vibration. Just like when I was in the woods that day, I was putting out a vibration that I was getting back.
I've never, by the way, heard a deer make a sound, I don't think.
Oh, so you're terribly screechy. Like, what do you think you're doing? That's the way it felt like.
Yeah.
And
they say our vibe attracts our tribe, but really our vibe attracts. That's what I mean by the pointing the finger out. It's like, man, we really got to look back in and say, what am I doing as a mirror to attract this in? So you have a 3-part series. You have an offering to help people with that. So after the illumination, then there's one more, and it's the soul retrieval. So in the soul retrieval, we go into that major wound. We go in to see what it is, get more information. And while we're still in that chamber, and this is all done in a shamanic journey, while we're in that chamber, we can also communicate and say, you know what, I'm not about that, or whatever. You can call in your power while you're in that chamber. Then you go into the next chamber and you get the contract. What did I learn from this terrible thing that happened? And then you can also give them the new contract, all the people in your little chamber. The next one's about what your gifts are, and it's also about your grace, that you've always had the grace. Don't forget what that is, like the hummingbird and the gifts. Maybe we bring back something from the spirit world that you can recreate, as I've created this ruby for me when I found my gift, when I did my first soul retrieval in this style. So we really go through it and really kind of open it all up and get to where you can. I really want to be a support for people as much as possible, through this, because
it's deep, and yet it's very subtle in some ways, you know, as all energy work can be.
Beautiful.
So that's the that's that.
That's that.
That's that.
I'm totally into that. I'm going to be getting a hold of you. I mean, I've done a lot of soul retrieval, but I'm like, I want to do your style soul retrieval.
Yeah, everybody has different styles.
I love it. And there's
Okay.
some layers to healing that, you know, it takes, like you said, it's never over. So that sounds amazing. I want to try that.
So we also do the cards, and that's all part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I do cranial massage with reflexology. And the Jaguar trance dance has kind of been put on hold a little bit through COVID.
Yep.
But what I did realize one day in the woods, that we can do something like that in the woods. So we started doing it in Clintonville, Como Park, which you've been, right across from where the mound is at the end of Weber. And this will start back up probably in April or May. And when the weather kind of evens out a little bit. And we do it around a tree, and we do the directions, but we also work with the chi. So we're doing movement, directions, and chi work, empowering. All the work that I do is about empowering others. Please be empowered and go forward. You know, I don't want anyone to have to hold on to, you know, what I'm about. You can do this. You know, here's your, I'm a cheerleader. It's another card, because I spent a lot of years being a cheerleader, but you know, that's what I want to be for people. I'm excited for your empowerment.
Yeah. And it's going to look differently than mine and yours. All right. Well, that is some amazing offerings. You can look at that more on her website. Oh, do you have one more?
Just one more thing.
Okay.
I just got accepted in. There's going to be a wonderful weekend coming up, Equinox weekend at the Serpent Mound. It's a peace summit, and a lot of indigenous people will be there doing ceremony. It's going to be such a sweet weekend. It's all outside. Awesome. I think we're still going to have to do the mask, and I'm going to offer the healing of the womb rite, which has been passed down through the lineage of the Laika people that I just spoke of. So I'm really honored to be part of the ceremonies that's going on. And so look for that. It's the Serpent Mound. I'll have it on my website. It's going to be a Facebook event.
Perfect.
And I think that people will get a lot of community there. Kindred community.
Oh, it sounds absolutely magical. How do you spell the Laika people? You said those
are Laika.
Laika. Okay. Very cool. Well, you've got some wonderful offerings. Thank you so much for spending time today. And
welcome.
It was absolutely delightful.
Thank you. And also, if people aren't comfortable coming into the studio, I can do the energy healing and the readings over the phone, Zoom, and just get in touch with me through my website, hersacredspace.com.